Hello, everybody. This is Jake Toronto here from ChasingCinema.com. Now, today is a very, very special day for me. I get to talk about Superman with none other than Superman himself. Ladies and gentlemen, he's been on the podcast more than any other guest, and he's a good friend of ours. We've had him on many times. We've talked about everything from Matrix to actresses to what we were expecting in 2013, and then his most anticipated picture of 2013 just came out on Thursday night at midnight, his own premiere. Ladies and gentlemen, James Shue. How are you, sir?
What's happening, sir?
Welcome back, sir. I'm so excited to have you back. And we're here to talk about Superman.
I've been anticipating this podcast, bro.
I've been anticipating, too, because I want to really be able to sit down and talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, as you heard before in the intro to this interview, this is going to be completely full of spoilers. We're going to say everything. We're going to talk about everything in depth. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, hold off on this part and come back to it later once you do see the movie. Or if you don't care, go ahead. Feel free to listen. But me and Louis reviewed it earlier in the interview. This is all me and James going full in depth. No holding back. Spoilers galore. So I warn you now. Sir, first of all, I have to congratulate you because in the Chasing Cinema game, you hit the nail on the dot with the opening weekend gross of Superman making $125 million.
I said it, man. I said this movie will make $125 million. Anyone who's skeptical, go back to this is the end premiere we did on Chasing Cinema, and then we said it right there, 125, and they did it. And I'm so excited for Zack Snyder. Henry Cavill, love it.
I've learned, obviously, that you are very good with these box office numbers. Me and you made a bet about Fast and Furious and Hangover. You beat me there. And then you outpredicted Louis and I with the Superman premiere. Louis was obviously closer. He hit 122 million. I only guessed 110, 115 around there, I think. So obviously you were closest. However, the surprising part of the thing was that the movie has a lower percentage on Rotten Tomatoes. Right now, I believe it has a 59, and I said it was going to be the lowest. I think with 70. Let me double check.
Yeah, it's gotten pretty. It's fluctuating, but the fluctuation though doesn't raise it up though. It just keeps on lower, then it'll go up, lower. But I think for I really think, and this is like Iron Man 3 complex for me, is because all the fanboys, the true comic book people, and I'm not talking about I just like superhero movies, like the true comic book people, they don't like Iron Man 3. They don't like Star Trek. They don't like Man of Steel. You know.
And I think that's a definite handicap because when I reviewed Hunger Games, a lot of people said you don't understand, you don't understand the relationship. My biggest problem with the movie was when Jennifer Lawrence finds the character Rue, the one that reminds me of her little sister.
Okay.
And you remember that part?
Yep.
That part was nowhere near as emotional as it was in the movie than it was the book. And people were mad that I wrote that scene was kind of worthless because of how big it is in the book. But yeah, when you watch a movie, you have to separate all sources.
Yes.
It's an adaptation. You have to separate all sources. You can't say it's not like the comics, so it's a bad movie. Absolutely not, because that movie has to stand on its own. Now, I know what you're saying, because we all know the fanboys that argue every little detail about Superman and stuff like that. I have always been a Batman person. I've read a few comic books. The only Superman comic I own is a graphic novel called The Death of Superman, his fight with Doomsday, and things like that. And that's actually my favorite Superman movie of all time, which we'll get to you in a second. My favorite is Superman Doomsday, the animated movie. I really enjoy that, even though most critics don't.
You saw the Kevin Smith part, right?
Yeah.
And he did it out of nowhere. That's so funny.
I mean, that movie, I really enjoyed that movie. That movie got me kind of really excited for Superman. I took time watching a lot of the animated films and the originals, prepping for this review, and I rewatched Doomsday the day of the review, and it just totally pumped me up. But what is your favorite Superman movie? If it is Man of Steel, not including Man of Steel.
You're including animated too?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna have to say, I have to admit, and being like all I care about is Superman and everything. I would have to say a lot of the films just haven't been doing him justice. I mean, the Christopher Reeve stuff is fun, but I mean, you cannot compare it to movies that's made today. It does look cheesy and it does look lame. But Man of Steel, man, that came up on my top. We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Okay. I'm really surprised at that because I watched the original Superman and I thought it flew by just as quick as the new one did. I mean, I still love that movie, and it is cheesy, but in a sense, it's still such a wonder to watch Christopher Reeve's fly. Now, have you ever gone back and watched a lot of the older stuff, like the black and white show with George Reeves?
No, I haven't.
No,
and they're not related.
No, they're not related, which is crazy.
It is,
and I think it was really crazy because I know George Reeves died in June, and then the anniversary is in June. Like all these things just kind of led up to the 75 years of Superman. So my question is, when did you fall in love with Superman? What was your first, what's the word I'm looking for? Your first
realization.
I guess you could say your first time you connected to Superman. When did that happen?
I would have to probably say that, it was my cousin got me into comic books. The Death of Superman series was coming out, and he had showed me, I want to say, Man of Steel number 17. And that was the first appearance of Doomsday's arm. And he said, dude, this is going to be big. There's rumors that they're going to kill Superman. And to this day, I still have every single comic leading toward the death of Superman, and probably 50 after that, all packaged, all sealed.
That's
never
awesome.
been touched. It's awesome. I just looked at it actually recently. And that did it for me. And then I really fell in love with, I guess, the idea of love when I saw Lois and Clark with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. And then, it was game over from there.
And you've just been a fan ever since. Now, the one thing, before we fully get into the Man of Steel conversation, Superman was never my favorite, but I will say, Superman in Man of Steel, the film, really brought back, I think, the spirit of Superman that's really been left out. We talked our turns very briefly. I think that's all it really deserves. Me and you both were not really fans of it. I'm sure it's much harder for you to say that because it's Superman, and anything with Superman, as I am Batman, I'll excuse. I still watch Batman and Robin. But
that movie's bad though. But I'll watch it if it's on. I'll actually.
But Returns is really was really sad, and like you said, we were talking about at the premiere as well. You can watch our video at James' YouTube channel or my YouTube channel, youtube.com/chasing cinema or youtube.com.
HSCM James.
There you go. And me and you were talking about how Batman has been, for the past, my lifestyle, the past 21 years I've been around, Batman has been the hero of our generation. He's the one that has consistently movies since the Tim Burton film in 1989 all the way up till now. Batman has had at least 7-8 films of just all Batman. Superman had 1 and 2, which was at the end of, I believe, 78, 79.
Yes.
2, and then 3 and 4 kind of really were disliked by a lot of people. And then the animated movies came out, and then Returns was the first time we got to return to screen, and everyone was so excited for that, and it was such a big letdown. So like you said, I don't think they've ever really given Superman any justice. So I was really glad to see that they got the movie that the Superman fans deserved. And you felt that way. You were very fulfilled after Man of Steel.
My gosh, bro.
All right, let's get into it then. So, Man of Steel. Why is it your favorite?
Everything. The movie, I feel that we saw was so good, and I feel that people who only see it one time aren't even going to understand everything in the movie. I really feel that way. Like, Henry Cavill was born to be Superman. Diane Lane's Martha Kent, and I'm going to kind of go back and forth, I guess, but Diane Lane's Martha Kent, I thought it was just a great mom. It was the type of mom that I wanted to see for Clark Kent and Kal-El. Kevin Costner, that tornado scene, come on. I mean, but that's the beauty of not even Superman, that's the beauty of motion picture. The ability to just do that scene is unbelievable. He sticks his hand out like freaking Neo in Keanu Reeves in Matrix and just says, no, you're not saving me, because he's not a hypocrite. He said, Kevin Costner says, you're not going to reveal yourself until you're ready. And he didn't go back and say, okay, no, I'm in trouble, so I need help. No, he had integrity and said, I believe in this so much that I will sacrifice my life because I believe in my son so much. That was unbelievable. I think some people are just going to oversee it as, he just didn't want him to save him.
I totally agree with you. That was my favorite scene in the entire picture. To give you kind of a breakdown or remind you, if you don't know what we're talking about, it was the scene when there's a big tornado and Jonathan Kent is going back to save their dog. Well,
damn dog.
I know, right? And the rest of the people on this road where it's like a road. It's not a freeway or anything, and they're all kind of hushed back onto this bridge, and that includes Clark and his mother Martha, and Jonathan's the one that goes back. And then during that, he realizes he's not going to make it to the bridge, and this tornado is going to throw something at him or eventually kill him. And as Clark makes that decision to try to go save him, and he makes one step. Kevin Costner raises his hand and just waves him off and just kind of shakes his head, tells him no. And I thought that was the most beautiful scene in the movie. I thought that was the best part of the picture. I don't think anyone walks into a comic book movie expecting to be emotionally touched, and I think that's what really surprised me about Man of Steel. I think it brought so much heart in that movie, because if you think about it, Clark Kent in that moment, as we talk about this movie alone, guys, like I said, I know I'm sure the comic people are going to say that's not why, that's not this, but if you look at this movie by itself, that is the moment where Clark Kent changed and became Superman. He realized how selfless of a choice that his father made, And that's what it's about. I mean, this is about someone who does not belong on our planet protecting us. A total stranger coming to save us that we don't even know where he's from. I mean, it's a total stranger who's been dedicating his life to protecting us. And this man who didn't give birth to this child after they had this argument about him not being his real father and stuff like that, this man still risked his life for him. And he didn't have to. And there was nothing and he could have asked for help, but he didn't because of how much he loved his son. I think that was the beginning of Superman. I think that was totally the best part of the movie.
It was brilliant.
And I just think that that's why I love Superman so much, because it was such an emotional movie. I mean, you told me when you saw it, James actually saw it before me, he said that this movie's going to make you cry. He's like, you'll cry at least 30, 40 minutes in the movie. And I was like, I'm sure. I'm a big baby when it comes to stuff like that. But I got teary-eyed like multiple times in that movie. One of the scenes in the trailer even is with Diane Lane and young Clark Kent, and she's talking about the world being too big. And there's a lot of emotional scenes in that movie, and I really, really like that. Another part that I really loved was Krypton. I love Krypton because, when we've seen Krypton before, we don't get a lot of it. It's not much of a world. It's pretty much just, Jor-El being in a few different rooms. But
in Antarctica.
They made us such a different world for Krypton, and I really love that. I mean, how did you feel when you first saw Jor-El walk in, and then there was Lara holding Jor-El, and what was going through your head?
They made me want a prequel that doesn't even have to include Henry Cavill. Like I was sitting there thinking, you could give us a prequel on just Krypton and everything that led up to this, and people will watch it.
And I totally agree with you.
They invented a world.
They did. They invented a totally different world, and I was so
like
in it.
Pandora, if I could say that.
And you were the same way. I was just like, I don't even need this. And you're in there for about a good 20 minutes. I was like, I don't even need Superman. Like this is great right now. What's going on? You hear more about the revolution and the coup that General Zod tries to go about. Like, learn more about that. I mean, that was incredible. I love that world. I was so surprised how good I thought Russell Crowe performed as Jor-El. I thought he was one of the best characters in the entire movie, and I think that's why I liked it so much, was because I was connecting to so many of these characters. Of course, everyone loves Marlon Brando as Jor-El in the original Supermans, but for some reason, Jor-El in the original Superman just seemed like, the one that would train him. But in Russell Crowe's performance as Jor-El was so fatherly. Like, I felt that, man. Like, when he kissed his baby's head to say goodbye, like, I felt that. That was also real. Like, he was really saying goodbye to his son. It wasn't about, I don't know. I mean, that completely blew me away as well.
Russell Crowe has said in a lot of interviews that he took up the movie one because his sons now are at that age where they could enjoy like a Superman film, and it's a movie they could actually watch. But he says he enjoyed it so much because the story of it is because you're giving away your son. You just barely had your son, and you're sending him not even to college. You're sending him to a whole other world.
Planet. Yeah, exactly.
And it's so powerful.
But I think it was the first movie to really do that, like to really emphasize that scene. Because, like I said, just days prior, I watched the original, and as Marlon Brando was giving off, is sending Jor-El to another planet, I knew that I understood what was going on, but it wasn't that much of an emotional moment. It was like, oh, this is what we have to do. He puts him in, the ship raises, and then unfortunately the planet blows up. In this movie, it really takes its time with making you understand what's going on, and it's a really touching moment. And then now, villain-wise, are you glad they did General Zod, or would you have preferred to see Lex Luthor or another villain in the movie?
No, I'm not done with Lex Luthor. I need to see Lex Luthor in. I want to see like Brainiac.
I want different villains.
Yeah, I want to see Bizarro.
I would love to see it.
I don't know if they're gonna
Bizarro,
if it quote unquote fits in this universe, this world. But I want to see those because there hasn't been a lot of Superman. We don't have a lot.
Yeah.
Some people, and the truth is, if it is Bizarro, if it is whoever it is, 99% of people won't even know who these people are.
And I know exactly what you're talking about. There's so many villains in the Superman universe that don't get kind of mentioned or talked about
at all.
That people would not know, and they'd be introducing a total different character. But it's the same goes on, why we emphasize in certain characters. I feel like I know what you mean, and I would love to see Bizarro on a film adaptation, but I think I need to see Luthor. I need to see Luthor
we have to.
So, I mean...
it would be a disaster if they didn't even have him. It would be stupid. But then you saw the Easter eggs with the LexCorp, the cars.
So we know he's coming.
Yes, 100%. And I love how they did that too. They're saying he exists, And they're saying, the Warner Brothers is saying, can we make money? And then, they're ready.
And I think, it's kind of interesting, that whole story. Like, Luthor doesn't know of Superman yet. I mean, now he obviously will know because of what happened. But now Luthor has, plotting, and that's where that nemesis can kind of begin. My only thing was I would have loved to see or hear or just have seen thing of Luthor, just to know. I would have loved that. That was one thing I would say. You give me after the credit, because there was nothing after the credit. There was no stinger, which is very uncommon for a comic movie. But I would have loved just to see, Luthor being there. Even in
it's uncommon for Marvel, but not for DC.
Yeah, it's true. DC doesn't really.
Yeah, they don't do that.
But I mean, everyone in that theater was waiting for something. And, so that was kind of a disappointment. And I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but I would have really loved to see like a Luthor, even young Luthor, like when Clark was growing up. We
saw Lana.
Yeah, exactly. One of the things I thought was when the whole bus scene, when he's in the bus and that guy, when the kid starts picking him on the bus, goes in the water.
IHOP boy.
Yeah, IHOP boy. Lex Luthor was a redhead in Smallville, right, as a child, and then he shaves his head.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be Lex Luthor.
Oh, okay.
I was like, that would be brilliant. Don't even say his name, or just like mention Mrs. Luthor. Say that's all I needed to hear to be so pumped, because that's the beginning. Because then he's the only one that knows Superman has these powers. But it wasn't. Obviously, it was some guy from IHOP, and that makes no sense for him to be working IHOP if it is.
God, no, he's a billionaire.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of wanted. And that was kind of a letdown. But I'm glad they're kind of making me hold out, because now I'm excited to see who's going to take that role or who would play Lex Luthor.
Yes, I mean, I know we keep on backtracking, but there was the Batman, the 3 Batmans, or the 2 Batmans, and the Batman the animated series. That's when I fell in love with Batman. I love Batman movies, but when I saw Batman the animated series, the original, oh my god,
the animated series is one of the greatest TV shows in the world
ever. Like a lot, there's a lot of hidden meanings in that in those shows.
That's a really dark.
Don't think it's just a comic
cartoon.
Book.
Yeah,
don't think that at all. It's like Pixar films. Don't think they're for kids.
Exactly.
Anyway,
absolutely.
But Lex Luthor has been in Lois and Clark. Lex Luthor has been in Smallville. Lex Luthor has been in all of those the first 4 and the Returns. I want to see more.
A different.
Give me Lex Luthor in part 2 at the end, and give me in full part 3, and give him a Kryptonian suit.
I think your genius right there is. I think that you got to know how to present these characters. But see, that's what I was kind of getting selfish. One of my, to instance, kind of throw completely out of the bone was I did not like Pirates of the Caribbean 2. At all, except for the ending. When Barbossa walks down those steps, and that's the last thing you see before the movie ends, and he's the one that reveals it has to take him to the end of the earth and the world. And I would have loved that for Superman, but I think it's smarter that they're holding it out for us. It's not the predictable move, so hopefully they won't take that predictable route. Have you thought about who you'd want to play Lex Luthor, or who could play Lex Luthor?
I
haven't given it any thought.
I haven't given any thought, but to be honest with you, because of how they casted this one, they'll do it right.
Yeah, I'm sure. Everyone was casted right.
Yeah.
Now, do you have any criticisms of the movie?
If I could say anything negative, but this is just me talking, and everyone who's listening also know it's everything. Everything period is always opinionated. I'm the guy that just loves love story. And I wish there could have been some more scene with Lois and Superman. But the movie's already 2 hours and 23 minutes. There probably was more scenes, but you can only do so much because... And thank God that Zack Snyder prefers this whole backtrack scene versus you start in Smallville for an hour, then you become Superman. Instead, the flashbacks, I love that actually.
Instead of doing the generic setup.
Yes.
I totally agree. I love that too. But in our video review, if you watch that... I say that I loved seeing Amy Adams on screen, and I really enjoyed her. And I said I disagree with him because I loved how much heart the movie had. The more I said about it, and I was sitting there writing my review, I realized that you were absolutely right. Because I realized as I was writing my review, and I was talking about every actor and talking about all the characters, I realized that I didn't see Lois Lane in this movie. I totally saw Amy Adams, who is playing Lois Lane. Because I don't think they really got Lois Lane. After everyone else thought that I bought and that I believed, I thought Amy Adams was the actor that least turned into her character. Lois Lane was just not a driving force in this movie as strong as she needs to be, and I think you're absolutely right. The relationship between them just did not feel as strong as it needed to be. And as I was writing that, I kind of realized, like, Amy Adams did great. I love watching Amy Adams. I think she's a grace to see, but that's what I was watching. I was watching Superman and Amy Adams. I wasn't watching Superman and Lois Lane. And I think that was a problem for me. And I think that, like you said, with the development of their relationship needed to be stronger, and I think they need to develop her more of a character. Like I said earlier, the Superman Returns...
Kate Bosworth?
No, you're right. Man of Steel right now on Rotten Tomatoes has like a 56. And reading a lot of reviews, a lot of people's criticism is that character development. Now, I don't agree with them on 90% of who they say where it wasn't developed, because I felt every character was strong except Amy Adams. I think that would have to be my strongest criticism, is that I don't think I believed in Lois Lane in that movie.
100%. But I want to think too that Goyer and Snyder and a little bit of Nolan. Oh, and that's something I want to throw out there. I think Nolan gets so much credit for this movie, and he's the one that brought it to Warner Brothers. But it's Snyder and Goyer, and Nolan overseed it anyway. I want to think though that they did it this way. So part 2 though is gonna be so heavy. I think part 2 is gonna be Man of Steel 2 is gonna be so heavy on the characters now, because now they got the origin out of the way, and now they can finally let's build the foundations. Like, they didn't even mention that Jenny's last name is Olsen.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't even mention that. So if anyone even forgot, there's a whole Jimmy Olsen.
Jimmy Olsen,
but this is Jenny Olsen.
And I was so bummed, because they really have like a Jimmy Olsen character in the beginning of the movie. Do you remember that kid when Clark, not even when Clark's around, but when she's trying to convince Fishburne to make this movie? He's in there, and he's just like Jimmy Olsen. It's ridiculous. I was like, wait, stop. If you're going to have a character, Jenny Olsen, don't have someone that looks like Jimmy Olsen in the movie. But I think you're right, but at the same time, I also think that the negative part about what they did is that now they think they got all that out of the way, that it's going to be all action, all that stuff, and I hope that they still concentrate on that heart. If Man of Steel 2 has as much heart as the first one does, and it really kind of goes in depth, then it'll be great. But if they say, okay, all that origin stuff's out the window, let's have Superman fight this, let's do that, that's when they're going to lose. I think that's when they're going to start kind of making mistakes.
I actually agree with you. But I only say this because they're smart, these guys. I actually think that the part 2 will actually have less action. Only because if I were to say, I love the action, but I think the consistent criticism on the movie, though, there was too much action. Superman Returns, everyone said the same thing. When is Superman going to fight?
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
weak. So in this one, they obviously showed, okay, Superman is a bamf. He's bad and he's going to do his thing. I actually think that part 2 is going to have less action and more story. Only because they showed so much.
They did, but then when you think about it, like, there was a lot of action in the movie, and that was another thing that I have to definitely give credit to Zack Snyder for, is there was a lot of action in the movie, but it didn't feel too much. Like, the more I think about it, I thought a lot more about the dialogue scenes, and obviously, like, the scenes that he spent with his parents, and him becoming Superman, more than I did the fight scenes. I mean, the epic showdown is a totally different discussion, because we're going to talk about that in a second. But, I mean, the movie wasn't and it wasn't overloaded with action. It wasn't a ridiculous amount where you didn't have any connection to the characters and everything was just fight. So I'm hoping they kind of stick to that route. And like you were saying earlier, to go back, I know we keep going back and forth, but that's so great. Zack Snyder deserves a lot of credit for this movie.
Oh my God. No, he needs the credit.
And I've yet been hearing people kind of really praise Zack Snyder. My first praise on Zack Snyder was for creating Krypton and making a world out of that finally that I believe existed. But he deserves a lot more credit than beyond that.
All you're hearing is Christopher Nolan, which I love Christopher Nolan. Love Inception. Love The Batman. But dude, give the director his
And I've always really liked Zack Snyder. Like a lot of his previous films, the only one that I really had a problem with was Sucker Punch. I'm not sure if there's one in between Sucker Punch and...
Watch. 300?
No, I know, but those were all before, and then he did Sucker Punch. Was there something in between Sucker Punch and Man of Steel?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That
either.
was like his project.
But that was a movie that really threw me off on Zack Snyder, because I was a really, really big fan. Because I love Watchmen. I love 300. I even loved the Dawn of the Dead remake. I think that was really strong, and I really enjoyed it. And then when he came out with Sucker Punch, I was like, oh no. Like, no. But then he came out with this, and I think
a Shyamalan syndrome.
Yeah, he did have that little fall off, but fortunately for him, he got right back on. He got right back on the horse. Right back on the horse. Like he did it perfectly, and I hope he takes his time, and I hope he really works. Hopefully, like you said, he is connected to the sequel.
Yes.
Yeah. So I hope he takes his time and does the same exact thing that he did in Man of Steel, because it was incredible. Now, final fight scene. Go.
The Man of Steel. It doesn't matter if you like Marvel or not. Everyone has to admit this. This isn't even an opinion. This is fact. Man of Steel had the greatest comic book superhero fight scenes ever shown on film. It was so done so well. Oh my gosh.
The final showdown between General Zod and Superman was so amazing. I said in my review, and I said it in the video review too, that there is nothing like watching the city of Metropolis fall to pieces, because you know Superman is in the middle of an epic battle, and these two, an immovable object and an unstoppable force, are clashing over this city, which just happens to be their battlefield. And I've never seen it done so well like in this movie. I mean, they're like in cartoons are able to do it easy, no problem.
That's
they're
easy.
able to do it well. But in this movie, they completely took it to a whole other level. I mean, watching Superman get thrown through glass and buildings and being tossed against buildings and watching them shatter, that's what I want from a Superman action sequence, and that's what I finally got, and I was so happy to see. That left me, but I absolutely loved it. I mean, I want to see the movie again, but I would love just to watch that big action sequence at the end again and again.
The ending where Superman breaks General Zod's neck, it was so perfect because it's everything Superman would never want to do. Because someone actually, I've been reading, because I do that, as I troll on these message boards, and people's like, Superman would never do that. That's stupid to say that, because if it just shows that the Superman didn't want to do that, but he was forced to do that. And that's why the whole screaming at the end. It's not, he didn't want to do that. He was forced to do that, because that's what Superman wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. But when you force him to do that, he'll do whatever he has to do because of what Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent have instilled into him.
And I agree with you. I think the Scream was a really great addition to kind of show the humanity of it. And I think I didn't mind that ending too much. I mean, I in my head I was kind of thinking a few things like, I don't know, but then again, like I said, exactly what we were saying in the beginning, you have to realize that this is an adaptation, and you have to let that world stand on its own. In this movie, that's I mean, I don't know how else it could have ended. It just ended so smart, because even though they are these titans that are breaking down buildings, it ends so humanly. It ends just man on man, just being just his hand. There's no, he doesn't use his heat ray vision. He doesn't use all of his other superpowers. He literally just grabs his hand and holds his neck and takes his life away from him. And as much as he doesn't want to do that, obviously, is the Scream. Ladies and gentlemen, after a little bit of a delay, our co-host is joining me, Jake Toronto and
Louis Carzal.
And I know me and you already reviewed it for the non-spoiling in the beginning of this interview, but now we want to kind of get your full in-depth thing. So anything you wanted to say about Superman? I mean, we've talked a lot already, but anything you want to talk about there, or really loved about the movie you want to throw in there, we can talk about right now.
Put me on the spot.
I know.
Wow.
The people want to hear what Louis says about the Man of Steel.
But let me catch up fast.
Okay.
You said, I believe in the video review, best summer movie so far?
I believe it will be the best summer movie.
And
It'll be the best. Not even summer. For me, it's gonna. The only thing that I know, I can't even know. Nothing is gonna be better than this. The only thing that'll come in second place, I could see Hobbit. I could see the solution. I could see that up there. Fast 6 was just awesome to me, but there's nothing that's gonna be better than.
That was cool.
Nothing is gonna be better than the Man of Steel. Nothing.
Okay. For me, I disagree. I did enjoy Man of Steel, but I still put Into Darkness above it. I would still take Star Trek, for me personally, over Man of Steel. Granted, Man of Steel provided phenomenal effects, special effects were top notch. The fighting, spectacular. The cast was great. At the same time, though, I think the parts were a little bit better than the overall product, than the overall whole for me. It didn't, like, at the end of the movie, got Jake pumped up, it got you pumped up, it got the whole theater pumped up. For me, I was like, half of me was pumped, half of me was like, okay, that was a great start. Let's see where this can go,
Oh, yes, diversity.
The cast was great. Everybody in the movie did phenomenal, from Michael Shannon to Henry Cavill.
He's scary.
He is.
Shannon was scary.
I think
But if you
Michael
watch him
Shannon's
on,
great.
like, he was on David Letterman. Such a nice guy, down to earth.
But I think he kind of...
He does have the creepy vibe going.
He has a creepy vibe, but I think his problem is sometimes he comes off too bad. Like,
Yeah.
too heavy.
Yeah.
Playing a bad guy, obviously, is probably one of the toughest things in the world. But, I mean, there's a thing called overdoing it. I think there was one or two parts where I was like, all right.
calm down, take it.
I mean, it wasn't like bad.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't Premium Rush bad, but it was still
Premium
kind of
Rush
I was
was
like,
pretty crazy.
Oh my god, him and Premium Rush is terrible.
No, so it did provide great acting, great effects, great action, and I did love every minute of it. But at the same time, it kind of dragged, and it felt rushed at the same time. Like I would have loved to see more scenes with the Clarks, with Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. They just killed it. And I don't think we got enough of time with them, and of young Clark Kent growing up. I think I would have loved more of that. It just,
if I could throw this in because you said that, I think that there wasn't though, and I really think this is because there's no time for the origin story.
Yeah, I know.
They already did it so many times.
Yeah.
Everyone knows. Okay, Superman's planet blew up. He becomes Superman. I don't think they wanted it. I think they might have wanted to.
Yeah.
But for the purposes of making money,
yeah.
There's no time for more origin.
Yeah, I'm not blaming Zack Snyder and the crew. I understand. I just would have liked a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
They could have done the whole movie on Krypton, and that would have been phenomenal too.
Game over if they would have did that. I loved it.
It would have been phenomenal.
Give me a prequel.
You know, I would have loved it. They could have even done a movie called Kansas and just saw, the Kents, and you don't know anything. You just heard the first name. You don't hear the last name. And the end sequence, you see the kid outside of the cave, and he does the pose like, "Oh my God, this is Superman!"
Yeah,
and it goes right to credits.
Like you said, you talked about this a while ago, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I remember because I have a bad memory. But yeah, like if you would have made a movie about Kansas, you never called them the Kents, and you just had this character, Jonathan and Martha, and who have a child, and then at the end you kind of reveal it will be Superman. That would have been such a great marketing ploy alone.
Yeah.
But
100%. That's sick. You actually got me excited. That's sick.
If Peter Jackson could do this, like with Hobbit, like do back to back, I think they could have squeezed in just like a family set piece. Kansas, and I'm sure like the diehard comic book friends would have put Jonathan, Martha, Clark. But for the regular audience, like hell, I would have known that. And just the end sequence when you see him and like, oh no, no, and then it like cuts the credits in black, and then Man of Steel next summer. Like it would have been great promo, and just like a great start, great addition to the whole DC comic book. But, I want to see them take more from it. I can't wait to see what they could do in the next couple of films. And hopefully they could improve, And again, I think General Zod, that was hit and miss for me too. Not just because of the performance, but because that character is so complex. Because he was designed to help Krypton. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't see him as a villain.
Yeah, he wasn't even a bad guy.
He eventually becomes because he wants to overthrow the government.
If you break it down, like his mission, he was designed because they all engineer these kids on Krypton to become the best at this field, that field, and he was a general. His job was to protect Krypton at any cost, whether it's overthrowing government, killing millions of innocent people from another planet just to protect Krypton. And I think that psychology behind it is so fascinating. I don't think they fully achieved the complexity.
Explored that.
Yeah. And some scenes did, other scenes not so much. So overall, I would have given it a 3 instead of 3.5. Still a solid film. Still check it out. Probably one of the best summer movies you can see. But I'm just hoping. Like, it's a great starting off point.
I think that's really interesting because one thing I really did want in the movie, because ironically enough, even though Zod is the one to kill off Jor-El, he's the only one who actually talks positively about him and respected him as Jor-El did.
Even after killing him. That.
At one point, doesn't he say like, I hate the fact that I killed your father, but I would do it again.
Yeah, it's so sick.
It is, but I would have loved to hear like you said, that's a complexity, and that would have been something I would have loved to see.
It's almost like the Gangs of New York, where Bill the Butcher talking like the honorable man I killed was your father.
Yeah, and so much respect for that. To kind of backtrack a little bit though, I know you said you felt that it was slow and rushed at the same time, and I completely agree. I understand what that was saying because there's a chunk in the middle that I think that, and I don't want to say it's a specific scene because it goes good scene, kind of slow. I mean, and I hate saying that word, but it was just something that kind of disconnected us from where we were going. We were going so strong, we kind of slowed down.
There's a couple scenes that took me out of the picture.
There's a couple scenes that they think they could have cut and put in more, but the one thing me and him were talking about that we felt least was developed was he thought the relationship between him and Lois Lane. I feel just the character of Lois Lane. I didn't feel, and even though I said on the video review, I thought to myself as I was typing the review, like, I didn't really see Lois Lane as a driving force in that movie. I saw Amy Adams, like, I didn't really feel that. So how did you feel about Amy Adams playing Lois Lane or that character? Like, I didn't feel Lois Lane was nearly as strong as Jonathan or Martha Kent or Jor-El. I felt that she was just kind of interests that could have been replaced?
Just because I absolutely adore and love Amy Adams, I was completely connected with her.
Really?
Yeah, like
Okay.
like C does no wrong in my eyes. But I could see like the character wasn't the best Lois Lane rendition they've done, adaptation.
I thought it was better than Kate Bosworth though.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one in,
No
its,
need.
in its entirety. So when I think of Lois Lane, I think of Terry Hatcher.
As do I.
Adventures of Lois and Clark. Great show.
It-
Dean Cain kills it. But it could have been more advanced, could have been more developed, her character and their relationship, absolutely. But I think C did a great job with what she was given. I thought she was a great supporting
Now,
for Henry. They had good chemistry, so.
Your favorite scene is what we were talking about, right? Kevin Costner in The Wave. Is that your favorite scene?
That's definitely the most emotional scene.
Is that
the
your favorite
tornado?
scene in the movie? Because
Yes,
we were
tornado.
talking about your favorite scene.
Give me. I can come back.
I know you. When we left
Got
the
me
theater,
pumped.
your favorite scene was one of the most randomest. I thought.
I feel bad. I really do. I feel bad for any future directors who are going to make a movie about aliens, because the greatest like scene possibly for an alien like abduction, an alien invasion is in Man of Steel. When finally General Zod and his crew come and contact them, lights go out, they lose everything on the TV that says you're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not. I thought that was fat. I thought Signs could have used it. Any of those alien movies, like, I feel bad for any future alien movies because this was so legit.
It felt-
And I got so pumped, like, oh my god, we're not alone. We're not alone. We're not alone. Oh my god, no.
Now, I
Oh,
know
it was
that
fabulous.
This will probably disconnect us really quick from our audience, but
Oh
tell
my
me,
God.
between you and I, did that
Yes.
feel kind of like WWE promo-ish? Like it just felt like it was setting up some really, really big, epic thing. Like
It was-
just that, it felt like you're not alone. Like just like something coming up on the Titantron that would just warn you, like something's coming.
Like
And that's how it
Y2J,
felt.
like,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
But it got me pumped. I was so excited.
And that's so funny because I liked
that
it,
scene.
but that scene did not do that for me. So
Like,
I really wanted to
I
talk
think
about
out
why
of all
that
the
got to you.
scenes, like, that got my heart racing the most.
Yeah?
I don't know why. Because, like, throughout the film, the things I was thinking is like, oh my god, humans are so insignificant. We are so small, part of this vast universe. Like, I kept, like, this movie proves the fact, like, we're nothing. And especially when that scene came, like, oh my god, oh, here it comes, here we go, woo, and that got me really pumped, and of course the fighting scenes, of course.
Yeah.
You know what though? Just to jump on that. That's why Goyer though and Nolan, when they wrote it, that's why they're so brilliant, because people look at this as a comic book movie, a superhero movie, but they really took it so this is a sci-fi alien invasion movie,
Yeah.
because Superman is an alien.
Yes.
So I like how it's both. They were able to do that.
Yeah.
It's not just it's a superhero movie, but you could easily say, oh, did you see the sci-fi flicks Man of Steel?
Yeah.
You could easily say that, and what can you say? It's an alien that's invading. Oh, this felt good.
Yeah, that's what Nolan
So
and
good.
Goyer brought
So
with,
good.
Batman, is that they made these movies more
good.
than just a superhero movie,
movie.
more
It's
just
more
a
than a
comic
comic
book. And they done it again with Man of Steel.
Possibly one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And you won't. No one probably even. And a lot of people don't like the scene. Would probably be the final scene where he's talking to Diane Lane, Martha Kent, and she says, "What are you gonna do now?" And then it shows him becoming Clark Kent. And then right at the end, probably the line that just made me freaking grin to grin, ear to ear. You could put a banana in my mouth sideways. Was when Lois says, Lois looks at him and realizes it's Kal-El and says, "Welcome to the planet."
Yeah.
And it's the first time
I like
someone
that
has
too.
welcomed Superman
To
to Earth. I like when I
was
wanted,
nice.
my hands were in there. I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, and it's so simple. Welcome to the planet.
I thought that too. I mean,
That was great.
It didn't like get me like that, but I was like, oh, I see what they did.
I
there.
chuckled.
thought
Yeah,
that was really
you gotta
clever.
play the two, play the two.
But
It
I
was
thought
cute.
I could tell because I sat next to James. And remember, this was the second time being in the picture. But the entire time, he kept slapping my leg, or would hit me on my shoulder, or he'd hit my
what's
notebook,
it-
tell me
what's
what to
it?
write down. He was so pumped, and that energy definitely transferred
Yeah.
into me. But I could see that was a really strong scene. But I really did love. One of my favorite scenes visually, ironically, wasn't one with a lot of effects or anything, but just how it looked was when we first see Clark wearing that red towel and he's just kind of grazing. And you see the and you see the
running
mom in the
around in the
background.
field.
That hit
Beautiful.
me. That helped me. That hit me because I mean,
That would have been the closing ending scene.
That would have
in
been in
Kansas.
Kansas.
And it would have been like, oh my
stop
god.
saying it because you need to write this and make
They need to make that. Are you
And-
kidding me?
and-
That's sick.
Please, because I have one about Alfred, Robin, Batman, like all the superheroes.
That's how you introduce it.
You know, but again,
You'd have to change your name.
Also,
so
this
people would
movie,
start.
yeah, I think it'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think it was great. I think
This
it's
whole,
genius.
you know, like a guy, like, he's born into like the Butler family, and his whole life, he's like, man, I wish I have a family I could love, and then finally it goes Wayne and Mansion. Credits.
Ding, ding, ding. Opens the door to Christian Bale.
Yeah. What? But also, Man of Steel made me realize how much I love Diane Lane.
Yeah, she was-
What a fabulous actress. What a career she's had, and she kills it as the mom.
Loved it. Loved it.
It's a good movie.
My whole thing, like, you know, I usually do. Sometimes there are times when I'll go on like a little bit of a rant in my reviews. My reviews will stop being so, you know, trying to be like a review and just go on and end up going into a rant. I did it with Miz, and I did it with Superman, I think, because I really got connected with the whole, you know, with this S in this chat, you know, this is not S in my planet, it stands for hope. And I think it's like we were talking about it in the Kevin Costner scene, is that the whole scene is that, you know, Superman's a symbol for hope and just to be hope, your faith in man, your faith, even though he's not, you know, from mankind, you know, your faith in the stranger to do good rather than to do bad. I think that was totally embodied in here, and I felt that a lot of people who were like, there's a person that I met recently who's very much like me in Batman all the way. Superman, you know, he could do everything. Where's the limitations? You know, there's not a lot of fun in a man that's so powerful that he really can't be destroyed. But that feeling of hope and kind of just in your faith in human is something I can personally relate to. So I think that really hit me, and that kind of made me get revamped on that character. You know, it made me want to go home and reread Death of Superman, and really want to go home and watch All Star Superman. Because,
Read Birthright. That's where hope is from.
really?
Superman. That's where that's from.
Okay.
Yeah, Birthright.
Birthright?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because
Superman
like I said,
Birthright.
the only one I've ever really I can remember and recall is
Because we talked about that when the trailers came out, and Amy Adams said, "Oh, you know," he said to Amy, that it means hope on our planet." And I'm like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Yeah.
That is awesome.
It's a great symbol.
It is a great symbol, and I think that whole movie just kind of really brought back the spirit of Superman, like what he wants to do. Wasn't this because I mean, with all of his powers, he didn't use much in this movie.
We didn't see a cold breath yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanna see Cold
I
Breath.
did mention to Jake, I'm like, after the movie, especially with the ending scene when he breaks his General Zod's neck, I'm like, doesn't he have a cooling method power he could use? Couldn't he? And like, it
and
was-
froze the rays.
yeah.
I don't. And I
It
don't.
froze what?
The-
Oh.
Could be
Instead
like,
of
oh,
breaking
no.
a neck, like at least attempt that.
Maybe he hasn't learned it
Yeah,
yet.
I thought about that too. Like
Yeah,
that's
maybe.
that's justifiable.
Because
But if he had-
that's how another thing is too, and at least I know, like we were talking about it last week, that you know he wasn't able to fly right away. He was able to leap tall buildings, but he was never.
Okay,
given
so he
that.
does a couple
But
inches.
no,
and-
I know that's what
yeah.
I'm saying. Like you know, he even in the comics he adapted. They gave
Yeah.
him more and
Yes.
more as he kind of went
Yes.
along, and then you
Yeah,
know,
because he could never fly actually in the first.
yeah, no, he didn't fly. He could
It was
just jump really high.
Yeah.
because of the gravity. Then he learns to fly, and then he gets
Heat and cold.
vision, and then he gets the cold. And there's a whole lot of things. And then you got the whole sun. It depends on how deep they're going to get with the suns,
Right.
the red sun, the yellow sun, all that stuff. James would probably know more than I would. But I don't know where I was.
Come on, and also
was I
can we
going
since
with
we're talking about superpowers, another thing I loved about it, never even thought about it once, was all you think is to be Superman would be the coolest things because you could look at girls naked. Every guy's thought that. Every guy's thought that.
More or
but
less.
I loved how they said or they showed us that no, dude, it's not cool. You're seeing people's bones, forever. You're seeing like the lungs. I loved that. And then I loved how they showed it because when he was a kid, he had to struggle through all that,
Yeah.
you know, and then grow and it's brilliant, man.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Even the kids did a phenomenal job. Like every casting they did for Clark Kent
Was strong.
was phenomenal. So they hit the
I
nail
really
on the
like
head.
that scene. We were talking about that a little bit earlier. I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you caught it actually, it just came out. Superman Unbound, which is a story about Superman learning of Brainiac and when Brainiac kind of kidnapped these different planets and these cities. And in his final battle with Superman's final battle with Brainiac, he goes to Earth, and Brainiac, who's been living in this ship or whatever, they start fighting in the mud and like just this trench of wherever it may be. It's probably around Smallville or whatever. Again, this is a spoiler for anyone who's seen this. It's called Superman Unbound, new animated film. Brainiac has struggles with the mud, the bugs, the bacteria, the sounds, and all that stuff. And when he says that to Zod, I'm like, oh my, I just saw this. And I was like, oh my god, this is so true, because they struggle, because Superman has learned to contain all of that and able to kind of accept everything that he hears and sees and stuff like that. And all these characters can't because they've never been exposed to that much.
I think that was his
love
biggest
that.
mistake in the whole film.
Really?
What was?
If like give him like the little hint,
To hint him that?
because
Oh no, I felt that he gave that to him.
yeah, he
I felt
totally
that.
gave it. If he would have just attacked there, done what he had to do, movie would have been over right then and there. I'm just
Sure.
saying.
But that, no,
Just saying.
you're just saying. But that's where the kind of the
I know they couldn't do it.
No, they could have. But the loyalty of Superman kind of lies. Where Batman, he'll take you out. Batman would have taken you out right there. Superman wants to fight you at your best. Superman wants you to know that he's defeated you. So I think giving him that handicap kind of would have been like, oh, Superman kind of kicked him in while he was down. Where he's like,
Since you mentioned Unbound and the Brainiac scene
take
and how they
that.
threw it in Man of Steel,
Huh?
You take that. You take that opportunity. I don't care how good you are. Just saying.
it's true though, especially when someone's trying to destroy the world.
I know,
But,
like I think all the
Hey,
like
man, he's
the
not my guy.
the Law and
I didn't
Order
make that choice.
detective in the movie, all the like, come on, man, what are you doing?
that reminds me of another thing I gotta talk about. Go on.
Unbound, Brainiac, and Superman, and then they threw it into Man of Steel. I think Wonder Woman also. She's the first person to actually snap someone's neck.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't.
I don't know.
Because they made that just for Man of Steel.
That's respect.
You know? But I
That
think
is
it was
respect.
Wonder Woman,
First who did
the Queen
that?
of the Amazon. I think she was the first one to break someone's. I think I could be wrong,
for
but
her.
she's done it though. That I know.
Another scene that I want to talk about really quick that I absolutely loved is another part of the whole. It wasn't about the Superman kind of thing, huh?
Okay, I said then I have a question.
Oh, okay.
For you guys.
Well, I'm about to get off topic. I don't know if, but basically, another scene that I thought was really, really strong and kind of not specific to the plot was when we said, oh yeah, Jimmy Olsen is now Jenny Olsen. Jenny Olsen is trapped in all these concretes, and we have Lawrence Fishburne sitting there trying to move this concrete to save her life. And in Superman fashion, realizes he can't, holds her hand, looks her dead in the eyes, and doesn't blink. And I almost fell to pieces in that scene. I don't know why that scene stood out so
Very
much
strong.
from a lot of things, but that was a really powerful scene.
Toy Story 3 effect.
Oh my god!
Exactly.
When a character faces death and accepts it, I think that's one of the strongest things ever portrayed on film.
And another scene where a character accepts death was your boy SVU when he turns to Fiera and he said like, what was the line they throw out like to die in an honorable way or whatever.
Is a
Come
good
on,
death.
he
Yeah.
knows she's a suit.
And
and
it
it was
crosses the that was great. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, Detective Stabler when he does that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot he
That
was in
was-
there. He was great
I
too.
can't
That
let
was
this go.
phenomenal.
I'm surprised they killed Dr. Emilio, the
scientist
The
guy?
scientist. He's been in all the Superman
The one
comics.
who pushes it in, who does it.
I'm surprised they killed him because he's the guy that runs Star Labs. So I'm assuming.
Oh, so that was the reference to Cyborg. Oh,
yes. But he's the guy at Star Labs. I can't believe they killed him.
maybe he jumped out.
And Superman didn't save him. He saved Lois.
You don't know.
He's so fast, you don't know.
Hey, Feora though she's
Maybe-
gorgeous. That girl.
She was good, but
She has beautiful eyes.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
I don't know why that scene got to me. But that scene was good too. I remember that.
Yeah.
To die a good.
Because he
I don't
said the
remember
same
Flores
exact
thing.
line to him.
Yeah, before.
And he survived. He's like, yeah, I remember.
He said,
and then
you see
Come
what
on,
I
that's
did? You
the
see
best
what I
off,
did there?
dude.
that was great. So you couldn't do anything about it.
That
But
movie was
like
incredible.
the first fight scene with her and the big giant guy,
The oath.
it was like almost like Thor. The same exact thing from
I got
Thor.
that too.
And like that's another problem I kind of had with Man of Steel. Like it is a Superman film. You did feel like Superman spirit, but there's elements like a little Thorish, a little you see like
That bothered you?
a Batman Begins, a little it's like
Well, it is from the same writer.
I understand that so I'm like there's
But that kinda
these
bugs you.
elements like let Superman stand on his own 2 feet and like those like creeping elements kind of deterred for me like the whole Superman production.
So Dark Knight Rises or Batman or Superman or Man of Steel?
Between the Dark Knight Rises,
I know you'd pick.
Man of Steel.
I would probably take Dark Knight Rises just
Yeah.
for the fact because after that I was like, oh my god,
Gosh.
what?
That was Bane. That was
my Bane.
Oh, that was
not
a
good
little
version.
No.
Sorry,
That was
I didn't
Bane.
cover it. Of course.
Okay, there we go. Thank you. Because after that film, I was pumped. The ending was
After Dark Knight Rises.
yeah,
Okay.
and then finally, okay, this is Batman. This is a Batman film. Like finally, we saw the saga complete. I understood what Bruce Wayne and Batman represents and what he went out to do. Finally, and the ending with John Blake, Robin, whatever you want to call him.
That just got you going.
It's like
Okay, now
My favorite scene of that whole movie
that was great.
the final scene where Alfred finally sees him, Christian Bale eating with Anne Hathaway.
yeah.
That was my favorite scene
If he
of the
did.
What do you mean?
because some people theorize that didn't happen.
That was like, you remember he says like in the beginning
Like
of the film,
Inception?
like kind of like in the beginning.
No, he saw that.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
No, you don't know, because early in the scene he was like, you know, I daydream, I fantasize seeing you in Italy and France.
Right, that's
with
why
another
Batman
woman.
went there. Because
But
he
you
knew that
don't
Alfred
know.
would be there.
You don't know.
Yes,
But
oh, that's
Christian-
the stupidest thing I've heard of. If I were on the fanboy list, I'd be all on that.
Well, you have to think about it though, because Christian Bale, I mean, being Bruce Wayne, he's got to be noticeable. So for
Yeah.
him just to be out there in the middle of, you
Just
know,
out there.
out there, I think someone would be like,
TMZ
hey,
would have reported it.
hey.
Just saying, TMZ would be all over that.
But all right, that's irrelevant. Now I don't know.
But then again, I did prefer Dark Knight Rises, but I'm not saying that was a perfect film either.
Yeah,
You know?
you had your flaws there too.
Yeah.
But all right, now to wrap this up really quick, I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know, because I'm not. Like I said, I don't do all the readings and stuff like that. Justice League coming? Yes, I'm assuming it has to be.
I
coming.
think they want to do another Man of Steel first, and then a Justice League.
And
But
they
I
have to do
know
everyone else too.
they haven't asked Goyer to rewrite the script yet. But he said if they do, he's going to say yes. I know Goyer and his team of writers are working on Man of Steel 2 as we speak, and I'm assuming if this does well, which is doing like almost like 125 million already.
Yeah, 25.
And then
Change it on the dot.
I said 122, right?
Yeah.
But I said 125, my friend. Louis Vuitton.
Congratulations, I was close.
He
Close,
was very
but-
close.
I think Vin Diesel said whether you win by an inch or mile when he's winning.
Dang! He pulled that.
I'm sorry you have to quote Vin Diesel. Good luck with all of that.
Hey,
But
anyone who can do 7 films and,
Well,
and
he
you're making
wasn't-
more money by the film.
Don't get me started.
You're doing. Hey,
Don't
let's
get me
look at the
started.
facts though. Hey, it doesn't matter if we think the films are good. Anyone who can be in your 6th one and you've made more money in this one than the other ones, you're doing something right.
I would argue that he has the Rock to carry
That's
him
fine.
in the
Everyone
next
needs
two,
sporting
and now
goods.
Jason Statham. So
Everyone
Sorry.
needs sporting
coattails.
Come on, that's like saying that in Batman you can't have Heath Ledger.
That's totally different.
No, it's not.
Because
dude.
Vin Diesel can't act like Heath Ledger could have.
Okay.
But
all right.
anyways,
this
so
is a conversation for another day.
They're writing. We need to come back because I did enjoy Furious 6, whatever you want to call it. I thought that was fabulous. But they're writing Man of Steel 2.
Yes.
And I'm assuming Lex is going to be the villain.
Yeah.
Who would he cast, James?
I asked him that
He
earlier.
asked me that too. I don't. Honestly, they've done such a good job with all the casting. Whoever they're gonna do,
Yeah.
You
bring
think
it.
You're confident. Now, really quick, my last question is: do you want to see Batman and Superman on the same screen, or is that something that you don't really care about, or is that something that you are in dire?
They need to make Batman versus Superman, and
Batman
they need
versus Superman?
the comic.
Well, okay, but
Yeah,
that's
they
what
need
you're
to
saying.
make that, and then they need at the very ending, Superman needs to give Batman the Krypton ring,
Yeah.
and end it like that. It's gonna be so sick. They,
I think that would be great. That would be fabulous. I did hear also, like, this is an independent universe from Nolan's Batman, so chances of Kristen
can't
Bale
meeting.
appearing,
oh no, that's done. Yeah.
it'd be a new actor
be a
portraying
new
Batman.
Batman.
Yeah.
And I think the only way that would happen is if Christian Bale, which I think can't see him ever doing it, if he personally called
Snyder,
Nolan
yeah.
or Snyder and said, "Hey,
Get me in.
I'm in,"
Yeah.
but he doesn't want to do it anymore.
He doesn't need to.
No, I mean,
I
when
would
you
like
spend
to see
what
them.
9 years of your life doing Batman, I
Yeah.
guess that's the thinking.
I don't know. See,
on
that's,
to bigger,
that's
better
where I
things.
think that it gets really tough, and that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know.
I
That
think it'd
gets
be
me
fun.
iffy.
But-
Putting them two in the same movie.
If you could make it, like, if you have Nolan
I mean,
and
if they do-
Snyder, running this show, running this film, and if you do that idea, I think that'd be great.
I think Batman and Superman isn't as good as a marketing play as Batman versus Superman, though. I think that rivalry has been going on so long that it'd get people so pumped
I think
up.
you're just a
Batman
little.
versus Superman,
Yeah.
people will kill themselves. That's
Oh,
gonna be
I
insane.
believe it.
I think Jake would be a little
But I think
nervous.
they're.
Yeah,
I don't think they'd go about it like that. I think they would go about it with Batman and Superman and not have them face off,
You know why they need to do versus? One, because it's going to piss off.
so
half
that everyone
the-
could learn
half-
that Superman is defeatable.
Anyway, they need to do that. They-
If Batman doesn't have kryptonite, right, and the sun doesn't blow out,
He's
don't-
got a fair shot.
I don't see how Batman wins. He needs those two things, right?
Yeah, he needs kryptonite or he needs the sun.
Right? Like no, like
Look
don't,
at-
we
look
all
at-
love Batman. Don't get me wrong. You know me, I love
Yeah.
Batman since I was a kid more than Superman. But if you just like logically think about this,
Look at him. Look at Henry Cavill.
I'm just saying, Dark,
Look at him.
Dark
he
Knight
is dreaming.
Dark Knight.
Yes.
He is dreaming, but I don't know.
I'm just
Depends
saying,
who
Dark
you get
Knight
as
has
Dark
put,
Knight.
Dark Knight has pretty much put Superman in his grave before, but at the same time, it's also gone vice versa. But on that note, we will have James back again to talk about Batman versus Superman. That's a conversation people want us to have.
Yeah.
That's when we're going to have
Bring
it.
it.
Look out for it. July, next month, we're going to have it. That's going to be the conversation we're going to talk about. We'll see what else is going on. We have World War Z and Monsters University coming to Las Las Vegas. This is the man again to get all your premieres. Sir, tell them who to text to get their, or what to text to get their reserved tickets.
702-348-5618. Let me throw this out. They say in Monsters University, the short film that Pixar always like to show these short films. They have said that this short film is so realistic that you will not be able to tell the difference between real and animated.
That's great.
Go like their Facebook page, facebook.com/mpmvegas. Check James out, Las Vegas. Check out James' channel. Check out his YouTube. Check out everything. Sir, thank you so much
He's
for being the
the man
most
to know.
reoccurring guest on Chasing Cinema. I've had a blast. Superman, thank you for giving us your talk on Superman. I'm Jake Toronto.
James Hugh.
Louis Corazon.
Please continue chasing cinema.